How's it going, everyone? Euler Gonzalez here. And finally, in this video, we're gonna wrap this React Native applications. So then we can move on to this next course from the intermediate React Native applications. As a way to now, once we understand the fundamental of what React Native is, what is the value proposition, as well as the inner mechanism, how all of this works, and what are the components that React Native exposed to us as a way to build this user interface that target native platform-specific directives, whether it's on Android and iOS and Windows. So then we can know of, once we build that, all right, a little bit more of the inner mechanism of the navigations as a way to understand that from the scratch, and how we are going to look at this common UI interface or this advanced UI interactions that we can go with and we are going to build as a way to finally deploy this app and see how to do that, because that's the end goal of building this React Native applications. So because of that, right, what we're gonna do is, well, let's take a look at at least this, right, and that is, well, since this is a course taught by Steve, sorry, let me show you the proper one. Yeah, so since this is a course taught by Katie Kremen, she is now a software engineer at Expo. Well, that's exactly when we went through all of this. So first we understand what is the value proposition of React Native as well as React, and understand now how can we set up our React Native app, and therefore using Expo as a way to speed up that process. So understand that behind the scenes we are setting up everything, or we're setting Expo now, setting up a lot of things behind the scenes that we have to do manually. So for example, is set up install Java and set up Java environment variables, as well as the Android Studio and the Android variable home variables. Download also the proper SDK for that, and for the iOS. So hey, you need to download a different version of Ruby. That is a different version from that iOS come by default, and now set up the project to now sign in your iOS app, right? So this is also something that now part of the Expo library or framework allow us to do. So it speed up that process, which is great. And well, as a way to quickly recap what we have learned so far is how can we use now ESLint, Prettier, then starting to create our own first React Native component. What is the anatomy of this? What is the most common UI elements that we can go with? So for example, view and text. How can we understand now is the layout behind the scenes, because everything by default in React Native is stack. And how you can work is with Flex, this layout that is part of the formatting context from the web, as a way to indicate to the browser, hey, how our elements are going to look like. It is going to display this set of elements as a block, or as an inline block, or a flex, or a grid. The idea of this formatting context is that give us predictability when it comes to define this set of instructions or this set of rules, that we know how things are going to behave, right? And also understanding now the navigation, where unlike the web, here we have three types of navigation: the stack, the tabs, and the modal. How you can create nested navigation. The, the intrinsic detail or a deep dive into this is something that we're going to look in a different course from the intermediary React Native app, which is great. And also we look at how can we now is get some user get some user data, for example, using the text input. How can we show now list of elements using scroll view, and how this is a way of how you can show is a fixed set of elements and scroll that, something that you don't have that on the web. And if you need to render a huge data set, let's say from the database, or you're pulling data from a server, you use flat list that behind the scene is using now a virtualization technique or visualization component that is keep track of the elements of the visible area and add a subset of on the top and at the bottom elements known as the render area, and elements that are way off, it doesn't render, right? So you can scroll that, and as you do that, is going to add all of these elements at the bottom and then at the top. So it's going to update that tracking. That's something that might go a little bit beyond the scope of this, especially of what is the technique that is using. But the TLDR is that it uses now this virtualization, right? Techniques. In flat list is a way of how can we now pass this data sets to be rendered, all right? And behind the scenes is doing all of these optimizations for our application. So in other words, if you want us to render a huge list of data sets, don't use in React Native is don't map elements here. Unlike the web, you do that. Now, then how can we enhance the device interactions? Yeah, like that. Enhance the user experience by looking at how you can create now toggles and with the button and with the touchable, and how you can persist data using the async storage. This React Native library that initially was part of the React Core Native, but they move out to the community. So this is also an example of now that React Core team members wants to not only delegate part of the core APIs to the community, but also that the community can now have a more closer feedback and collaborations in the code base. So what does it mean is that we also look at how can we do that. This is an async key value unencrypted storage, pretty much like the local storage, but now for React Native, all right? And how can we now add is layout animations like this, right? So how can we use the layout animation API or reanimate for that, similar to the gesture handler, okay? And this is just to describe at least how you can enhance the user experience, right? Whether it's using touchable instead of buttons, and store the persistent state of your application, and provide now animations to based on the UI elements or some inner animations, right? And then now the device interactions. Those device interactions are whether it's haptics, which is this touchable and tactile feedback that you can get from your mobile. That is, hey, the vibration. We look at how can we add that. This is part of the Expo package, and provide you a nice little feedback in your phone, which is a great stuff, by the way. This only works, of course, is on physical mobile, not on the emulator. Also, the hmm, yeah, because this is device interactions, and also is the push notification or notification in itself. This is split on push and local. So push is something that is quite involved because you have to somehow tell your server to store is or to register the push notification client, and then now send that to app through the app, through the Apple Store or the Firebase, and redirect that to the proper device. And with in-local notifications, well, it's just some notification that you're gonna that is show on the for is notification that is show when your app is on the background. So it's gonna show that on the notifications bar, right? So the idea of this is by looking at how you can create these in-app notifications and understand that how Android and iOS handle that notification, at least in-app notification is something that is not, you can test that on the devices. You can only do that on your mobile phone, hardware, physical device. So we did that. We write this use case, which is a code that comes also from Expo, that tells you is that hey, on Android you need to now is subscribe to pass this notification to this channel, whereas on iOS there is no need to do that. And because this only works on device, you need to add some sort of a logic to actually show this on your device. And now some of the schedule notification and the recurring reminder. This nice little app is just as a way of how you can build this by integrating all the different pieces that we have looked together. All right. So, for example, the text, the scroll, and the list, enhance the user so navigations, and enhance the user so navigation, the text input and list. They enhance user experience. It's like, hey, how you can now adding is these touchable areas or this toggle in how you can store persistent the state of the applications, as well as how you can show its animations to the user interface. All right, and combine that with now the device interactions like push notification, the haptics, and in-app notifications. So on that, right, where that's exactly what we're building here. So let's go to wrap this up finally. And well, that'll be all for this course. Now, let's jump back to the code here in React Native. Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to do is persist the state. So we've seen this done already with async storage. We're going to do this again with async storage. Originally, I did this. I intended to set the timestamp with like date.now instead of seconds, so I used milliseconds here. But if you ever need to like have like a second, minute, hour, day, or whatever in milliseconds, then this is a nice reference for it. So 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds, 1 minute is 60 times 1,000 milliseconds, and then 1 hour is 60 minutes, 1 day is 24 hours, etc. So let's see what we actually want to store in our countdown storage state. So I'm going to create a type called persisted countdown state. And this is the stuff that we want to store in our async storage. So one thing about notifications is that once you trigger a notification, so I'm setting a notification to be in the future, and unless it happens or I cancel it, it's going, unless I cancel it, so I'm setting a notification to be in the future. And unless I cancel it, it will get triggered even though I've set a new notification.
No, I say cancel get triggered not even though I send a notification.
So I want to make sure that I'm storing the ID of the notification that I created so I could cancel it in the future.
Okay. And this is quite interesting. So of clarify your ideas and to write it down. To clarify your ideas. So we're going to now store the idea of this notification, so I could cancel it in the future.
So the idea is that, let's say that there's a thing that I need to do every hour, and I do it after 30 minutes. So that was before my notification.
Exactly. So idea is that I'm going to store is this.
So the idea is that, let's say that there's a thing that I need to do every
there's a thing that I need to do
hour,
every
and
hour.
I do it after 30 minutes. So that was before my notification. So I want to cancel notification and then not get this notification because I've already done the thing. So with this, we need to store the current notification ID, which will be a string or undefined. So undefined will be the initial state. And for our history tab, let's keep it simple for now, and we'll just store the array of timestamps of the past times you completed it. So completed at timestamps. So this will be an array of numbers,
which is something that we're gonna pass through the history.
Let's also do a storage key. So const count down storage key. So this will be the key that we're going to use in async storage to store our countdown state against. So let's call it taskly countdown. And this timestamp, let's call it frequency. So we're going to hard code this. So in the future, you could make this UI dynamic, so the user could create a task for themselves in the future. So they could say that, oh, I want to do this every 2 weeks, and here's the thing I want to do, etc. But we're going to just hard code this for now for simplicity. So this frequency will denote how often you need to do the thing. So
exactly. So this is not hard coded here. But what we're going to store is now the idea of the eventual completion of this persistent countdown state. Persistent countdown state. All right. And then you got this one. Right. Current notification ID. So it's like current notification ID. That'll be a number. All right. And or a string in this case. So strings, or it can be undefined, and then they complete it at timestamp. So completed at timestamp. Completed at timestamps. And we're gonna now to store is the key that we want to indicate. We want to store is the key. Yeah, we want to store is now is the data persistent with this key to be so we can look up for it. Now this is countdown storage, storage, right? Countdown storage key. All right, countdown storage key, which is taskly. So taskly countdown. All right. So taskly countdown.
So I'm going to set this to 10 seconds for the time being. So that will be 10 times
this will be now
1,000, so it will be 10 milliseconds.
The frequency.
This is 10 seconds in milliseconds. And we're going to hard code this for now. But in the future, you could build a UI to let the user define it themselves.
Exactly. So let's go to hard code this. Okay. So 10 seconds. So the frequency. Hard coded. So hard coded. hard-coded uh, hard-coded reminder of task. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to leave it for 10 seconds for now because it will be easier to use for testing. State. So we'll do a countdown state and set countdown state. So this will be the persistent state that we're getting from async storage.
Okay.
So this will be use state.
So if this is the persistent state that we're gonna get from our storage, that's right, it makes a lot of sense. So it's a use state that this will be the persistent countdown, which is the state that we're gonna get here. And this will be now called as the you can say is countdown state. So countdown state and set this one countdown state. That's right.
And we're going to start with undefined, so we'll start with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be the persisted
The
countdown
persistent
state.
countdown state. Right.
And now we'll add
Now,
another use effect.
Here, because we want this to now synchronize with this external state, all right? Since I want to synchronize with this external state, in this case, the async storage, we're gonna create now a use effect that I want you to run all the first time, all right? And if I did this, it means that, hey, I want to now define the setup function, which is, hey, I want you to now is trigger is the get from storage in our case, right? We're gonna pass now the key, which is the storage countdown storage key, and since this is now an async function, I want you to now wait for this, all right, and do something like this. In other words, to say, hey, because here use effects are not async. One workaround is to pass now these things. Use effect is not async, and you want to run async operations. You can pass now a function, an async function, and then call it, and then on the return, which is the cleanup function on the class and React class component, this is when you have now on the component will on mount. This is the cleanup function. Then you can now clean the state if you need to, right? So in our case, this will be is now set initial. This can be is init for that. I'm gonna call this init or init storage, init storage, you can call it here, and since this will be now an async function, what we want to do is this async, right, and I want to wait for the data, and once we have now that data here, we are assuming now the happy path, because how do you now is wrap or to catch synchronous error in a try-catch error, right? So one way to do this is assuming the happy path, right? You can say, hey, I want to move I want to move this. Come on. Okay. I want to move this Exactly. This is to create copies. Exactly, but this is to create copies. Okay, it wasn't that hard. All right, and we move this, and once you get that data, right, say, hey, this is now the data here, and here you want to just throw a console log error, say error here. And here we say, hey, const that away get from storage. So once you get that data, all right, which is now an string, we want is to now set the state here, set countdown state with the data, right? You have to be careful, especially if you now keep track of state here. And if you keep track, for example, an state that you are updating inside of the effect, you will end up in an infinite loop, infinite rendering. So you don't want that. So in any case, and we call this in storage, right?
Our interval use effect, we're storing every time we completed the things. So let's say that we're going to store the last completed first. So we can do the last completed timestamp. Timestamps. So this might be undefined, so that's why in TypeScript land we're going to have a question mark here, because it's safely getting the completed timestamps. And we're going to get the last completed at timestamp. So this will be the first one on the list. So here in our use effect, our timestamp will change. So the timestamp will depend on whether you've completed it before. So if it's completed before, okay, so this timestamp will be when the thing is due by. So if it's
okay, so when the thing is due by, it means that last completed timestamp here
completed before, then we'll use this last completed timestamp, and we're going to add the interval, so or frequency of how often we want to do it. So that's why we have.
Okay, so this is now the time. Okay, so this is to check now is the last completed timestamp on our countdown state at completed at timestamp. Okay, this is to get now the last completed timestamp, and here you say, I want to get now the timestamp, the due timestamp.
To define it, we'll use this last completed timestamp, and we're going to add the interval, so or frequency of how often we want to do it. So that's why we had to define it in milliseconds.
Okay, so getting the last timestamp. This is
so
more like
plus frequency. And otherwise, just to have a default, if you've never done this before, if you've never completed a thing before, we'll just default to dates.now.
Timestamp. The idea here is to now get that get that last item here by saying it's last completed timestamp from our array, last completed timestamp from our array, last completed timestamp. Here that'll be now the countdown dot completed at timestamp. Okay, countdown completed at timestamp. Completed at timestamp. Yeah. Countdown state completed at timestamp. Current notification ID. Exactly. And I want to get is the last one for that, and this is what you're gonna use to check, hey, is the last time completed, exists, then I want to get the last completed timestamp plus the frequency. This is something that is fixed, right? Plus the frequency here.
And lastly, so passing in anything in this array in use effect, do it sparingly and really think it through, because the way use effect works is it runs every time the value passed here in this arguments array is updated. So in our case, we want to run this every time this last completed timestamp changes. So what will
Okay. So anytime, but again, if you do that, which means is that calculated that and calculated that and calculated that, okay?
happen is when this changes, it will clear the interval and then run this again. And it's really important to do this sparingly, because for example, if you had a set state inside the use effect and then also in the dependencies array, then you would get into an infinite loop.
But we can do this is because we are now having is this reference that is not in a state. It is now a rendering. It is a variable rendering. It's a variable that is not. It's a variable that is going to update on every render, but it's not in a state. Okay. And you have to be careful when you use this kind of stuff.
Hook up this schedule notification. So we call this schedule notification, but we want to also, again, this schedule notification.
So this is when
this frequency is now millisecond.
Is now the push notification.
And then, so this will be after this else.
And then she defined here is handle request permission, schedule notification, the result, handle request permission. I call this like that. Let push notification. Let push notification ID. So you define this variable, but didn't assign any values.
So we'll set push.
And then push notification ID is just a reference of this. Okay, push notifications ID.
Notification. We want to update our state with the data that we just added. So first, and this is the important tidy up thing, we'll check our countdown state to see that if there was already a notification scheduled. So let's do countdown state, current notification ID. So if this is not undefined, we will call await notifications and it's cancel scheduled notification. And actually notice that there is a function for cancel all scheduled notifications as well. So this might be handy.
If we already have a notification,
but in this case, we know our
this, okay? If we already have a notification here, I want you to now cancel the previous notification.
ID. So we can
So cancel the previous notification. Okay. On the notification async dot is notification cancel all notification, cancel schedule notification async, cancel cancel notifications async, and we're gonna have that ID of how the things work, and that is the notification, the ID, the push notification, the push notification ID,
cancel this particular notification. So we'll call cancel notification async with notification ID.
So it's our current notification. Hey, if this notification exists, let me cancel that. Okay, countdown state the so if that exists, let me cancel that notification. And you create a new
and
one.
now we'll need the new countdown state.
And here you say, hey, let's go to create another countdown
So const
state.
new countdown state.
To create a new
So this will be the persisted countdown state that we created earlier. So we'll need to have
new
the current notification ID.
The new countdown state. So the new countdown state. Okay. That'll be the persistent countdown type of that. This is the current notification ID, which is the notification. Okay, the push notification ID, followed by now the this is the new state, which is the completed at timestamp. So wherever you whatever push notification you have, okay, I want you to now give it to me, spread that here in this array on each one of those slots, and this is the way how you can do this. Spread these elements to be filled on this, to spread each one of those elements to be filled in the array, and that is the set countdown state, right? This is now the countdown state completed at timestamp plus the current timestamp, that is the new or this is the date. All right, the date dot now, right?
So this will be the push notification ID that we created here. So this might be undefined, but that's fine. And completed at timestamp. So this is our history of past times we've completed this.
Exactly. This is the history of our countdown completed.
We need to also handle the case where the initial case where the countdown state didn't exist. So let's say that if countdown state exists, or when it didn't. So when it didn't, we just
Okay. Oh, because exactly, you need to actually evaluate this expression. Exactly. So you need to evaluate is this expression. Oh, if this doesn't exist, makes a lot of sense. Hey, if this exists, if this exists or not. So if this exists, right? So if this exists,
didn't exist. So let's say that if countdown state exists.
Exactly. So if countdown state exists, so this is what we want to do. We're gonna say, hey, completed the countdown dot completed at timestamp, and of course I want to spread each one of those elements in this new array, plus add the new timestamp here as it is, right? We can add this at the last, or
when it didn't. So when it didn't, we just do date.now to add the current timestamp. And if we already had a countdown state, then we want to spread the countdown state complete at timestamps, and we want to add the new completion to the beginning of the array. So we'll add our date.now.
Exactly. That's what we are doing here. Otherwise, we
now
just
let's
only
set add
state. This date.now.
And await
that doesn't exist.
save to storage, which will need the countdown storage key and the new countdown state. We'll need the countdown storage.
Okay. So this is completed at timestamp here. It is a type number. It's not assignable to type anything. Oh, because we didn't specify that exactly. This is a number. And all right, and with this, then we want to now update our state, which is set countdown state of the set countdown state of the new countdown state. So this, what it's going to do is handle the request permission. In other words, is schedule the notification. Okay, we're going to rename this to say, hey, schedule notification. So schedule notification, right? There you got it. And it makes a lot of sense in terms of, hey, this is what we're gonna push. This is the notification that we're gonna send to register, and the Android devices is through a channel, and the iOS it doesn't care. It handles that. And once we have that notification scheduled, all right, we want to hold is the reference of that. And if we already have something in our state at that particular schedule, hey, let's go to now deactivate that or cancel that, and then show only one. That's the whole point of this. And to be updated on the state, all right, I want to now update the new state for this. So this is quite interesting.
Key and the new countdown state.
Set countdown state
to storage.
Oh, and then I want to, of course, store that in the storage. And then this is async storage, like that, or save to storage. Exactly. So it's save to storage. That this is now the key, the countdown key. It's like countdown key, countdown source key, plus the value, which is the new countdown state. Since this is an async function, okay, I want you now to wait for this function to be completed. Wait for this, right? Yeah, we are assuming now the happy path here,
which will need the countdown storage key, and hope it works.
So if we go now to the code here, right? If we now go to the code here, right? Well, let me spin it out this thing. Spin out on the Android. There is no. Okay, I didn't define that. No problem. Spin out on iOS. All right. One day has already passed. I need to reload this, but we wanted to check this on our Android phone. Reopen it. Yes. I need to throw an error here because it says, oh, okay. Yep.
Gets through because the default, if you've never done this before, if you've never completed a thing before, which is
exactly, which is of course use you send that as it is. You know, seen this before, they dot now as expected, right? So this now will work. If we now reload this and we launch that on iOS, it say, hey, there is a new recommended. Well, install that. This is just for demo purpose. Okay. And again, it's sending that bundle. This bundle is blazing fast, but blazing fast. This bundle. This bundle is blazing fast. And so here, I'm going to scan this, Expo Go. I want to clear this and scan the QR. The bundle here is very, very fast, man. It's very, very, very fast.
Default to date stop now. When this changes, trigger will be. Okay, so initially I need to do it once, so we'll start counting.
If I do this,
and reopen it, and I'm hoping that it's in the red, which means that it's actually persisted. And let me show you on my Android phone. Okay, so initially I need to do it once, so we'll start counting, and now it's going to count down. When we go into the red, which is excellent. So I didn't get a notification because I'm in the app. So let me say that I've done the thing and I back around the app.
so I do this.
So I'm expecting to get.
I get now the seconds here that are already passed. And then one things I will do, things I will do like now. So I can now is, no, instead of reload that, I can now is, after that, I receive a notification as expected. I receive a notification as expected. A notification from your app. That's right. And of course the time has already passed. That's quite
Get a notification in a couple of seconds saying that the thing is due. Really? Beautiful. And the other thing that we want to check that the notification gets cancelled if I do the thing before it's due. So let's say that I've done the thing, and then I'm going to.
Oh, it's exactly. The other thing is to verify is that the schedule is now cancelled before I have done the thing. So one way to check this is to now do a double tap for that. Here you can say is, hey, I have done the thing. You can say 1, and I have done the things, and I have done the thing, I have done the thing, right? So I send several push notifications. My push notifications are canceled here, and after the 8th amount of seconds, I already have only one notification from the app. So this is great.
Do it like 3 more times before it gets to red. So I'm waiting a
Because
couple
we are
of
keep
seconds.
tracking is the current notification.
And then I
If
background
is that
it.
current
So
notification
even though I've now
exists,
done it 3 times, I'm expecting to only get
then
1 notification because the
you
other 2
got
should
it.
have been cancelled. And I do. So that is the value of cancelling the notification.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, one thing that I wanted to show you that I didn't add initially in the example app.
That's quite interesting. That's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So here is the git status here. So git status, git add app counter index.ts, git Oh, and I'm gonna receive that after what? After 10 seconds, I think it is. Until I have done the thing. Yeah, until I have done the thing. That's quite interesting. It doesn't work on. Ooh. All right. Anyway, but here we add that persistent countdown state. Git stat, git add, git commit with a message is persistent count countdown state, and persistent countdown state, and show once, and show, yeah, persistent countdown state, because now this is going to be shown after each amount of time. Exactly after 10 seconds, it will show these notifications over and over and over and over and over. But it's because exactly we're still recording that. And this is managed by the expo. That's what happened. This is managed by expo. This push notification state. Okay. So next one is activity.
Is that when we reload, we actually get this little so this is like an overdue state. But when we open it, it's initially white and then it flicks to the red state. And the reason that's happening is because we are using useEffect to asynchronously fetch from storage. But the initial state that we have is that it is not overdue, so it's like this default state. And this normally isn't a problem because this method of using async storage, so this is how it works kind of under the hood, but in usual, and it's useful to know that this is how it works, but in usual production applications, you would use a state management library, or which will then handle the fetching for you, and then you can keep your splash screen up while you're fetching, and things like that. But in our case, we can actually do something simple and just show a loading spinner while things are being fetched so we wouldn't get this flicker. So I want to just quickly show you how you might do that. So in React Native, you have this built-in component. It's called an activity indicator. And let me just before I return, I'm going to just to show you do a view and render the activity indicator in there. So this is what it looks like. Let me just style it a little bit better. So styles, activity.
Yeah, this is to actually load in some.
It's a long style name.
Async style.
So let's give it a background color of white. And let's do justify content center and align item center and a flex one. We do React
Activity indicator container. Okay. So this is now a way to define here is the activity for that. Here we're using is now the activity. The React Native way of giving style, but most of the time you're gonna work with some sort of UI library. But it's important actually to exercise or to train your brain muscle, your brain and finger muscle. Here, activity indicator container, activity indicator container, right? Where this it'll be part of the activity. This will be part of the activity indicator. Okay, and the way to show now that is by saying, hey, this is now a flex. I want you to take all the available space from the parent component, justify the content to the center, and align the items to the center. I gotta admit here that justify counter and align items center. Justify content. Let's explore this. So justify content, right? Align items in the main axis. Okay, exactly. And when you talk about the main axis, is on X. Okay, aligns items in the main axis, which is in this. On X, on Z, on X. So align items on the main axis. It's like, hey, align items on the main axis. Justify content, and align items is now and align items. Okay, and align items is now align the items of the on the cross axis, which means this, right? On the cross axis. So align items here on the cross axis. So so if we do this, and then we add now this activity indicator to the return. What is the return? Let's going to find the return statement. So before this return statement, I want you to is first return is this one, this view, right? This is the view as it is, and then on this view, I want you to now show is the activity indicator from React Native, right? Provide now the style here as it is, activity indicator container. Okay, but to access through that, this is how you do this. It will now show this activity indicator here. Please be my guest. It was a problem running the tunnel. Wait, what? Oh, it's because we haven't that run. Okay, we didn't run that. Okay, tunnel is created. Open that in iOS. Please be my guest. It's actually pretty fast, blazing fast, because there's not a lot of model to be loaded. Only 568 models. They say, hey, you throw an arrow here and say, hey, this is okay. It thinks that this is okay. This is center, and this is center, right? It say now, hey, this is not what it's supposed to. Oh, come on. Center, right? So now this will work. If we go to the counter, it shows now the history. That's quite interesting. We're returning is this return style activity indicator here. It's gonna reload this. Layer children, no road name index exists in next children history.
Cater container. It's a long style name. So let's give it a background color of white. Align item.
All right, and here we are, right? So it's actually showing that activity loading indicator, which is pretty cool, pretty neat. You know. I'd like to take a record here, right? We can also say, hey, this is the background of this view will be is now theme dot back color white here. Right, so it actually updates the color white.
Center. and a flex one. When you do React Native, you write these styles so much. So
Yeah.
just to go through them, because
There's no need to.
haven't done, I think, 8, to whether or not we are done fetching our initial state. So let's just say like is loading, and
Exactly.
set is loading. It'll be a use
So
state.
the idea here is to
and we'll
now
start
have
with true.
a way to keep track is the loading state.
And in our use state,
when
where we set
we
the initial
now
countdown state,
here,
let's also do set is loading false.
Mhm.
And we can do here in our return, we can do if is loading, we can return early out of our function.
However, if we do this,
And do this little
what
full
happens
screen
is that
loading
it's
thing.
not going to be shown.
I've forgotten. There is one more thing. So it's not ready until we have set this use effect. Okay, so actually it's finished loading when the first interval has been set. So let's. Oh, this is interesting. It's always tricky when you have an initial state as well. Okay, let's put the let is loading here. So if there is a last completed timestamp.
Yeah, is the last completed last time? So if
Okay,
the
so would that work?
So this is interesting. Because he resolves first this use effect, and then this another one, and it's here that is happening.
Okay, so this does work. It actually wouldn't work now with the initial load, because if we didn't have a last completed timestamp, then it would load forever.
Exactly. Or if you pass here and the timestamp say, hey, let's going to set this to false, even though that is going to run this. Let's see if that actually work as she mentioned, right? Say, hey, I want you to now show this if is loading.
This does work. It actually wouldn't work now with ready until we have set
the name of it exactly is loading
out of our function.
So this is
and do this little full screen
loading
thing.
So if it's loading, I want to show is all of
I've
this.
forgotten. There is one more thing. So it's not ready until we have set this use effect. Okay, so actually it's finished loading when the first interval has been set. So let's. Oh, this is interesting.
All right. So here.
It's always tricky when you have an initial state as well. Okay, let's put the let is loading here. So if there is a last completed timestamp.
And the is the state here. Say, hey, this is not counts. Is loading and set.
Okay, so would that work?
Is loading. All right.
Okay,
As a state that we
so
want
this
to keep track
does work. It actually
here.
wouldn't work now with the initial load, because if we didn't have a last completed timestamp.
Initially will be is true. Initially this will be true. And if we try to do this here, it won't of course show that immediately, because now it loads that data, but it needs to wait until the first interval has been completed, right? So in other words, if we say this to false, right? And so if we go to this, it's not showing that properly. Well, of course. It will show as suspected. So however, what it's doing is now flicking between them. You say, hey, if this last completed exists, then I want you to now update this state here properly. Uh-huh. It means that we call that on a refresh here. So if I click here, of course, it's going to trigger is a notification. This is something that I don't want to.
Then it would load forever. We can add some additional handling to this, but I'm not going to do it right now. I think the idea was to show that you could do like a full screen loading state, and this is what that does. Okay, countdown status. So let's actually put it in here. So let's put the is loading in the countdown status. Would that make sense? Yes.
The countdown status here to put now the loading indicator.
Okay, we actually need two parameters here. This is what happens when you add things to your course that you weren't planning on. But it's interesting. Okay, so we actually have two statuses here. So we have whether we've fetched it from storage, and then whether we've actually set this interval.
Set the interval.
So in our countdown status, so we have is loading to whether it's been fetched from storage. So let's do that. I do want to get this right. Okay, so I'm going to call this, okay, and then, we can't access these from here. Alright, I'm going to leave it as is for the time being. So this will work if you've had at least one time you press this button. Alright, let me make sure that it works on my phone.
So let me now refresh this. This is just to show is the loading indicator, activity indicator. Exactly. This is just to show you the activity indicator for that. And now we show this forever. That's interesting. Exactly.
Work these from here. Alright, I'm going to leave it as is for the time being. So this will work if you've had at least one time you press this button.
Yeah, but this will load is because if this exists, so but this is loading forever. And this is loading forever. You know? Exactly. And now it's flashing here.
Alright, let me make sure. Okay, but in our countdown status, so we have is loading to. Okay, we actually need two. Let's actually work now with the initial load, because if we didn't have a last completed timestamp, then it would load forever.
No, the contrary. It's like evaluating that.
We can add some additional handling to that now with the initial load, because if we.
If you do that, it say, hey, is this exists? All right, let's set to false. You see?
Didn't have the last completed timestamp, then it would load forever. We have so far, whenever we used async storage, little history. Do I have a light? So actually, this will be the same as we did in our countdown. The type of this will be a persisted countdown state as our countdown state. I will import flat based on.
Okay. This was quite trivial to show. You know, swapping in those states here. Exactly. And this is the behavior that we want here. This is the desired behavior. So just to show a load indicator, git status here, git add everything, git status with a message is activity indicator, that's right. Like so, activity indicator. And the story
The key that you
timer.
use. So you can access the same key of the same async math again. So we're going to do a storage, and the countdown storage key will import it from our index file, and we don't have this set state here. And import use effect from React.
Exactly. All of this is just now
and set countdown state
importing
value.
is this.
So here we want to render a large list of items, so our go-to for that is of course a flat list. So we'll import flat list from React Native.
Exactly. We're going now to export this stuff here.
And the data in the flat list is going to be countdown state completed at timestamps.
It's because we're about to create now this component.
I think actually is fine if this is undefined.
Here,
just get the list empty.
history, that's right. Blah, blah, blah.
And let's do a render item. So this will be for each of the timestamps. So again, this takes a function, and this will be a destructured item. And we'll keep it simple and do a view and some text.
It's this one.
And let's just to test it.
Do all of this.
Yeah, so this item is actually just a timestamp. All right.
And
actually, if you ever end up with this, where you've done a function and nothing is rendering, it's because you probably used the wrong braces or you forgot to return, which is what I did. Okay, so I'm actually using implicit return here.
Here we're going to use this.
Okay, so I've got 2 timestamps here, and I'll do another one, and we got a third one. So we probably want to format this as an actual date. So recall that's why we installed date functions, because I don't want to figure out how to format this in as an actual date, but date functions knows how. And we can actually copy this full date format from the diff, which looks like this.
And
We
similar
need to be backticks.
well, we remove the
And
container
we'll say
here,
that this will be format. So the format will be from date functions.
and then
And
we
we can pass in a date
this.
or a timestamp. So we can pass in our item as is, and then the format string, which will be our full date format. There you go, and this now it looks much more sensible and readable. And finally, we want to add some styling to this. So let's give the flat list a style of styles.list. And let's say the list has a next one and background color of white.
And this stay. So once you save all of this,
so remember you shouldn't add paddings
you
to
need to
our style
get rid
in the
of
flat list,
this.
so we want to use a content container style. Styles
persistent
content
countdown
container.
state.
So this is just so that the top element wouldn't be against the wall here. So let's do content container. Let's do a margin
So
top
we need to export is the state
of 8.
from that.
And let's style each of these items. So let's do a style. So this is on the view on the rendered item. So let's do style is styles dot
persistent countdown state.
list item.
Oh, because you create what?
And the usual things. Let's add some background color. So this can be the light grey. I think a nice one. And let's add some margin, so it's not against the walls. 6, my favorite. And I'll just increase of the default items before anything has been added. So whenever you do something like that, you build and the list empty container style as well. No history. So sad.
So it's still now getting things from this, unable to resolve this, which is util storage, and the other is a persist countdown here. Persistent countdown state.
Okay, so this is what you want to export this countdown storage key, constant, and the type from our index file.
Exactly. So, oh, we didn't save that. That makes a lot of sense. And once we save this and do the yarn star to run this, get from storage, but it say get from storage. Okay. Get from storage the key string, and that is the countdown storage key, and set that to the value to that. What if we run this again with the tunnel? Tunnel is ready. Launch that on the iOS, and when we navigate to the history, we're supposed to load it.
So we could use it in our some text. So let's say,
that's interesting. It doesn't show anything here. Let me reload this app. So I can get, oh, I get it. You're gonna clear this up, launch that again. Okay, let's do that again to generate a new okay. Yeah, what's happening is expo star without a tunnel. We're gonna find expo star. You have a package JSON here with the command that expo star. Okay, it's no, I cannot find it. npnx expo star, right? And place here on the iOS. Load that fast. That's right. Show here. And when it comes to the history, your shopping list is empty. That's right.
No history. So sad. Then uninstall your app and then try. And I'll just for the radio not item. Say to test it, we'll do yeah. So this item is actually just the timestamp. All right, which is what I did. Okay, so I'm actually using the function and nothing is rendering. It's because you probably used the wrong braces or you forgot to here. There we go. Okay, so I've got 2 timestamps.
Right. So you got this. You got a counter. And now let's make a full reload here because this is something that we weren't able to do this again unless we delete the memory here. So all right.
Here, I'll do another one with text. So let's say no history.
And the other is adding the confetti, storing timer.
And you can always check that it works by just changing this data to be an empty array. Or undefined.
Storing
Undefined should
timer
work as well.
history.
Oh, undefined. Undefined should work as well. Lovely. So now we have our countdown, we have our notification, and then when we do the thing, we also have a history where each of the previous times we did the thing will be listed here.
Storing timer history.
So functionally, our app is now ready. We have a shopping list where we can add things to our list, we can delete them, we can mark them as completed, we have some haptics, we have async storage, and we have our counter or timer or scheduler, whatever you want to call it, where we count down from a time and we can schedule notifications to remind us to do something. And the last thing, I just wanted to add some joy to this counter application. So we're going to add some confetti. Who doesn't love confetti when good things happen? And of course, add a good success haptic feedback when you press this button. So for the haptics, should be an old hand at this, but let's import haptics. So import x star as haptics from Expo Haptics. And just before we schedule a notification, so in here, so when we press the schedule notification button, let's do haptics, notification async, and let's do haptics, notification feedback style success. So this should be a big old heavy haptic feedback. So let me try it on my Android phone. So if I hit this, that was a nice, satisfying feeling haptic feedback. And lastly, let's add some confetti. So this is just a little JavaScript library to add some confetti into your React Native app. So it was a bit cute and fun. So
yeah, let me. I'll be right back.
let's install the confetti cannon.
Oh, did you add that haptics?
And we have our counter or timer or scheduler, whatever you want to call it, where joy to this counter application. So we're going to add some confetti. Who doesn't love confetti when good things happen? And of course, add a good success haptic feedback when you press this button.
So Fruito's going to add the haptic feedbacks, which is pretty straightforward.
So for the
You
haptics,
have
should be an old
access
hand
to
at
that.
this, but let's install, let's import haptics. So import X star
And
as
here.
haptics from Expo Haptics.
The import
And
haptics
just
is
before
for
we
haptics.
schedule a notification, so in here,
From
so when we press the
haptics.
schedule notification button, let's do haptics, notification async, and let's do haptics, notification async, just before.
Oh, exactly. Everything as haptics.
And just
here,
before we
just
schedule a
before we
notification, so
schedule
in
a
here, so when we press the schedule notification
here,
button, let's do haptics, notification async, and let's do haptics,
feedback.
notification
Just
feedback style, success.
Just right after.
Haptics, notification feedback style, success. So this should be a big old, heavy haptic feedback. So let me try it on my Android phone. So if I hit this, that was a nice, satisfying haptic feedback. So let me try it on my Android phone.
But you put
So
it
like this,
at the top.
that was a nice, satisfying feeling haptic feedback.
So if I now add this.
And lastly, let's add some
haptic
confetti.
feedback-
So this is just a little JavaScript library to add some confetti
Chill. Who told you that?
into your React Native app. So it was a bit cute and fun.
Hmm?
The confetti cannon.
Told you.
Confetti into your React Native app. So it was a bit cute and fun. So let's
Who
install
told
the
you
confetti cannon.
that? Who told you that?
Alright, so the way this works, it looks like I need to.
Alright, chill. Haptics. And here we're going to do a notification feedback type. Or an impact notification feedback type. I mean is impact async or notification async here, and we pass now is the proper notification type it needs to. Haptics dot impact feedback style as medium or success. Say hey, impact file notification feedback success, right? So if we go to now the to yarn star, all right, start this with metro, tunnel ready, there you got it, and oh yeah, that's right. Exactly, let's go with expo go. Scan the QR code. Let's get into this. Whoop. Yep. And we now are here, we show that. I've done the thing. Interesting. It didn't. Okay, on the. That's quite interesting. Here, I actually do this, but on Android, that's interesting. And it doesn't work now. Here, the navigation here. Okay. All right. Anyway. Okay, anyway.
Whenever you see like refreshing or the app doesn't load, then the standard thing to try, by the way, I think I haven't mentioned this before, is you stop your bundler. So wherever your Metro process is, you stop it, and then you start it again. If it still doesn't work, if you think something is cached, you can actually start it with -- reset cache. Reset cache. So just an FYI. In this case, I will just start
Just
it
a UI.
and reload. There we go. Probably imported. So import, but we don't want it to fire when you just open the page. File the confetti cannon.
Install the confetti.
Let's install the confetti cannon. Alright, so the way this works, it looks like I need to, whenever you see like refreshing, it's probably imported, so we need to trigger this confetti, so you can the confetti cannon, and there's a media, and we also from here, from React Native, and we can do dimensions, get window, and we do width divided by 2. So now it's actually quite handy for testing when it fires every time I open the page. There we go. And now it's fired from the center. I think that looks better. And actually, we use this dimensions value from React Native. It's worth knowing that this actually comes with a hook as well. So instead of this, I could use window dimensions. So use window dimensions is also an export from React Native. And then this gives you a width, the window width. So instead of doing dimensions get, I could actually use this width here instead. And the good thing about that is, if you're building a mobile app which is responsive, so you could set it to landscape or portrait, then this would adapt. Otherwise, with the initial implementation where we import dimensions from React Native, then it is set once, and then it won't get recalculated if you change your device size. So that is handy. Let's do auto start to false. And we can use our confetti ref instead to start it programmatically.
Exactly. So by now creating is this confetti. Oh, great. Here you go. Just start. Right. By having now this confetti here, importing in our counter, right below here, this component here on the schedule notification, exactly, but it's right inside of the confetti here. You say, hey, I want to use now the confetti. Interesting. We need to import that as the npm package suggest, and that is toggle pressable haptics. The other is confetti expo. Expo React Native. Confetti effect of React Native. Confetti burst, but the npm package is React Native Confetti Cannon. Oh, exact. It's React Native Confetti Cannon. React Native Confetti Cannon. Okay. So confetti. Okay. So using confetti. Using confetti in this one, by doing is this, right? And the other is haptics. Haptics in animations, in reanimate. Animate using reanimate. Custom, yeah, using custom animation with reanimate. Exactly. And you take a look now at that is with reanimate, JavaScript, React Native. All right, reanimate with software mention. And the other is confetti, haptics. This is custom action animation, vibration or vibration feedback. Vibration feedback with haptics, and here is show a confetti animation. All right.
So let's install again. If like wherever you met about it.
Okay. Say yarn, exactly. Git status. We actually add okay, and we also want is to add now here the confetti.
Oh, so we're gonna play. There we go. Turn it off and on again. Alright, so confetti cannon. So we're going to place the confetti cannon at the end of our screen. So confetti. Oh, it's probably imported.
Exactly.
So import confetti cannon from
so import
React Native confetti cannon.
cannon.
And now we're going to render it at the very bottom of React Native confetti cannon. And now we're going to render from
okay. You can say
React Native confetti cannon.
Confetti.
And now we're going to render it from
Confetti cannon. Confetti cannon. Right. This is just the name of this. Now you can use that the confetti confetti cannon here, the confetti cannon, and you're going to pass now some
React Native confetti cannon.
props.
And now we're going to render it at the very classically. So it's kind of here, but we don't want it to fire when you just open the page. So the way we fire it is using a ref. So a ref is something we haven't used before, but it is another React hook, and it basically contains a reference to an element on the screen.
So it's just a way of how we can keep track now elements not needed on the UI. In other words, any element that you don't want to keep track with user state, you use ref. So for example, you want to keep track is now if the input is focus or not, or if this particular object updated, if this particular props in this object updated behind the scenes, if you want to keep track is the scrolling event, right? Again, there is very specific use case for doing kind of stuff. Another good example is, hey, I want to now keep track of this canvas reference here, right? So this is useful for some browser APIs as well as HTML elements, which is in this case like that, right? So this is the use ref. So if you want to keep track of this, we say, hey,
so you can call
this
a use ref.
Confetti ref. That makes a lot of sense. So confetti ref, right? We can define that at the top of that here. You can say, hey, I want to define now this confetti ref, right here, say confetti ref. That'll be is now a reference that I want to keep track, and I want to notify to React to do that. Okay, and now pass some of the props here that you're going to use here, right? So for example, you say, hey, this is now I want this to be triggered based on a particular property or not.
So window dimensions is all change your device size.
So yeah,
import dimensions from.
So instead of using now, so we're gonna use a hook from our state here, which is the use window. Okay, so use window dimension from React Native. That this gives you now a up-to-date dimension width as a width property here. I think it is window. I'll give you the width.
Native. Then so you could set it. Go to this. So let's do our kind of instead device presentation where so instead of doing dimensions get, I could.
So we can say is width, right? And now, right below in our component in the confetti when this is rendered, right? I can say, hey, I wanna render this count 50, and the origin. Okay, the origin will be the middle of the screen. So on X, it will be now the width. Alright, it will be now the width divided by 2. I want you to now start here in the middle of this. But here we need to pass this now an object here. Okay. Here we need to pass this now an object here. Okay. And on G, I want to be is like minus 20. So I want to know this happens is of the charts.
It's a landscape.
And then the fade out to say, hey, fade out. So once you fold it, I don't want to see anything like that. So if we go now to our component here, so this is the problem, terminal, and all that kind of stuff. So if we now to here, and then we say, hey, I have done the thing. This of course is not gonna show because we need to is
or portrait, then this would adapt if you change your device size. So that is handy. Let's do auto start to false.
exactly.
And we can use our confetti ref instead to start it programmatically. So when we go to this schedule notification, so kind of kept it as schedule notification, although it's kind of like I've completed the thing, but let's keep it. So
false.
let's also do our confetti. So confetti ref current. So refs always have ref.current. But to this schedule, we can use our confetti.
And if I go to this, I'll be able to see that confetti. That's interesting. That's lovely. It actually fade out. So I have done the thing. So yeah, that's lovely.
The ref instead to start it programmatically.
So
when
I
we
want to use now
go to this
ref
schedule notification,
here.
so kind of kept it as schedule notification. So start to false.
Right. So I'm using is now this ref to show this confetti ref from use ref from React. You should include that exactly. And then and then what happened is with this confetti star exactly. And then what happened is that with the confetti I want you to now when you push the button, which is now here, handle notification, when you to is confetti.current. This is the way how you can access to this object. They must have some sort of property that I don't know
and
what it is.
Let's also do everything.
Okay. So if this reference exists and the current as well, then exactly you don't have anything of that. It doesn't expose you, so of course it doesn't know what is this ref. Even though that we create that ref here, we haven't specified is the
pull
ref
functions on. So we'll do a use ref, and we're going to start with nothing, which is fine. I'm just going to type it as any because I think the confetti cannon didn't have types.
okay.
So what we'll
confetti,
do
it doesn't have any types.
is we'll pass this ref into the confetti cannon component. So ref equals confetti ref. And then we have some properties as well that we can do. So let's do a count of
for
50.
example,
I
if
think I found that default
15,
count was a bit intense on Android phones.
I have done the
And
but let's going to put now here is
okay, we also need to
the
set
bar.
where we want it to be displayed. So let's do an origin. And okay, so if I do, let's also do our confetti. So confetti. So now this confetti should confetti when we press the button, which is awesome. Everything's so much more satisfying with confetti. And lastly, it's worth updating this to something, I kind of call this thing, because it really depends on something that you need to do, but a good example for me is washing the car. So it's something you need to do every 2 weeks, and it tends to take longer. So this is the initial thing that I had in mind when I was building this. Right, it would be a day. Okay, so it's a thing that I want to do every 2 weeks.
Okay. But again, it's just a static.
I'm gonna just
I don't know who told you that. I don't know. I told you
name
something.
as well. So I've washed the car.
I told you something.
Okay, so it's a thing that I want.
Okay, 2 weeks, right? And then on the 2 weeks, I say, hey, this is now 1 second. All right, 1 second. This is 1 minute. This is 1 hour. And this is 1 day. And this is 2 weeks. Okay.
To do every 2 weeks, and I'm gonna just update this name as well. So I've washed the car.
For example, I have done the thing. I have done the thing. I have washed the car. Or I have washed the sheets. Right? Or I have washed the motorcycle. And if I don't, things overdue by.
Car wash due.
Exactly. This case is motorcycle. So motorcycle overdue by motorcycle wash.
In, and car wash overdue by, and in my notification,
Wash.
Oops, where's the notification?
Overdue by.
Let's say time to wash the car.
Ignoring the notification is.
Oops, where's the notification? Let's say
the thing is due. So the thing is due. A notification from your app, and here is the wash your car. Time to wash the car. This is time to wash the motorcycle. And here I can say is this one. Motorcycle. Time to wash the motorcycle.
there we go. So now it's updated to 14 days. So I didn't use this value for testing because looking at this countdown is a little bit more boring than looking at 10 seconds. But the idea is you can tweak this history to also see how frequently you've done it. So let's say that you need to wash the car every 2 weeks, but maybe it took 3 weeks, or maybe it took 1 week. So you can add some additional handling here that will tell you the distance between the last 2 history items.
So now if I go to this, to the app, and then I say, hey, I watched the motorcycle. It doesn't show you that.
Let me just, for the last time,
here.
double check this on my Android phone. There we go. So car wash due in 13 days, but I'm very eager, so washing the car now.
And in my case, in this case, I washed the motorcycle. And it doesn't trigger that. Did I delete that line? I don't. Request. here, and it's here that I'm saying is this haptic notification. Yeah, I removed that. Yep, I removed that. Silly me. Haptics is a no, the ref, so Confetti ref, the current. So if the current exists, let's go to start this Confetti animation. As I say, do this. Yeah, watch the motorcycle, and then it reload that again. Right? There you got it. Okay. So let's actually I'll take a screenshot of this. Right. And yeah, let's get into this. It's going to reload this app. This is not a screenshot here. Let's go over this. Let's go over this. And that's pretty much it. That's very interesting. Git status, git add everything here except the readme, right? Git status, say git commit with a message, say add confetti, and then you say git add readme, git commit with a message, add docs ref. So git status. Oh, did you add that in the previous one? You son of a bitch. Anyway. So anyways, so yeah, there you got it. There you freaking got it. So now when you say git push origin, the recurring reminder, take a look at the GitHub React Native taskly. Recurring reminder here. Finder. put a comment here, and then you merge pull request. Please confirm, and there you got it. Really? Take a look at that, bro. So, I'm just going to open out Taskly here. New updated bundle. Load the screen. Okay. Sí, un par de detallitos en la aplicación que no me permite navegar allá. Yeah, they are quite buggy here. And they are quite buggy, bro. Yeah, it's quite buggy, bro. It's like the how to show. Mm. Okay. Stop. ¿Quién te dice? Se es bien mañoso, no joda. No, no es esto, mi rey. Ah, ok. Mañosita, vale, mañosita. It doesn't work. Entonces, guárdalo, hijo mío. This is one of the great things that I love from the browser. It's like, hey, it's detecting this link, send that over there. Pero deja de hacer esa verga. Pégalo y ya, mano. Ah, ok. Está bien, papi. Sí, cómo funciona. Ah, está. Okay.
And I get some confetti, and the items added to my history, which is great. Alright, that was Introduction to React Native. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. The goal of this was to show you a bunch of kind of main components that you use to build things. So we've looked at views, text, we looked at scroll views, flat list. We looked at how to do styling. We looked at how to do conditional styling. We looked at navigation, so we have bottom tabs, we have modals, we have stack navigators. We looked at data persistence with async storage. We looked at layout animations, like amazing full-page animations with like very little code. We looked at how to add joy to your app using haptics and push notifications and some confetti. So, as mentioned earlier, we left the third screen intentionally blank, so hopefully you have an idea of some utility that you might want to build for your home or for your everyday use, and hopefully you have some ideas now and knowledge of how to do this in React Native. Is this it? Well, thank you.
If you are able to understand and articulate these fundamentals, you will provide significant value. If you're able to understand and articulate these fundamentals, you will provide significant value to your company or clients. Shout out to Matt. Shout out. get it more practical and get my hands dirty. Yeah, my main focus is Twitter and this one. Hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of tasks that I don't want to do, man. That's how. For example, like this, like yeah,
So we're all about.
And look, by the way, we're here in Tres Amigo, which is our favorite Mexican place.
We're all about location-based apps on cell phones, helping you find your friends, places, events, and now cool new deals. So we're coming out with this new app. It's called Loopstar. It's based entirely on Facebook Connect, and it is all about helping you find your friends. We can see that Tres Amigos restaurant, where we are right now, is the nearest place. I could check in there.
iOS.
And I could then get points. I'm the boss of this place now, so I can see what I can do. We also will show you the specials near you, so you can see all of these cool offers nearby,
Exactly.
and then I can see the rewards that I'm working on. So I just this morning got free music for checking into a bar with 3 of my friends. I can see where my friends are, and you don't have to set any of this up. You log in once with Facebook, and then a list of your friends show up, and we can pull in their location even from other sources.
Oh, that's cool. So who are you?
I'm Sam Altman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Looped.
Yeah. What is Looped and what are you guys coming out with?
So we're all about.
And look, by the way, we're here in Tres Amigo, which is our favorite Mexican. So we're exactly competitive compass. Oh my god! You know what it is? You know what it is. I wish you the best. Wish you the best. Off. Yeah, güey. Anyway. With AI news, bro. Really? Well, good. Sorry, fellas. pair program, this kind of pair programming, or this walkthrough, is powerful. At least has been powerful to me. At least has been powerful, huge, 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 immensely powerful to me. And simply silly just to be able to articulate and get my hands dirty. I'm building React Native apps. Oh, well, that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.